So I'm selling cars in Orlando, Florida, and Obama is in office, and I'm thinking that well, I'm a political junkie at this point, and I'm getting all this negative news, and I'm just absorbing it. And you know what they say about taking in junk, you are what you eat type of thing, and you are what you think. And so I was taking all this negative energy in. But one thing that kind of caught my attention was a story about Texas. They were asking the federal government to repatriate their gold, which I thought, wow, that's kind of bold. And I think, well, that makes sense. If any state's going to demand anything from the federal government, it'd be Texas. And I just like their attitude. I wasn't really familiar with Texas. I just heard stories through friends and stuff. And my dear friend, my best friend, was had lived in Texas. And there's another story that perhaps for another time we'll get into. But at any rate, I'm in Texas and loving it. I'm thinking, wow, this is not at all what I thought it would be. The first thing I noticed, the difference between Pennsylvania, Florida, pretty much the rest of the country, and Texas, is Texas is colorblind. There is no brown, black, white. Um, Everybody's you're either a Texan or you're not. There is no you're black, you're white, you're brown. You're a Texan or you're not. I fall under the category of I believe not Texas yet because uh, I think you have to be here a good 2 decades to be considered a Texan. If that, I think there's people who've been here 20 years and still aren't considered Texan, but they're good people. I love Texas to death. I would die for Texas. Um, that's how much I love this state. And I don't say that frivolously either. This is a state to be proud of. And it shows too. That's the other thing I've commented on is this is the first state that I have ever noticed that hangs their state flag out all over the place. You know, in Pennsylvania, I've never seen a state flag in Pennsylvania other than maybe on the capital of Harrisburg. I've never really seen one in Florida, except that maybe at the schools and uh, government buildings. But just about every house has a Texas flag. I want one outside my building. I probably will eventually get one. Which I guess I should get into all of this going on here. I reside in a commercial building in Overton, Texas. It's a little small town, population of about 2,500. Um, Again, good people. That's why I'm still here. I love these people to death. I've been through a lot. Um, and there were moments where I thought, because I had judged Texans, this is early on. I mean, I knew right away Texans were good people. I just didn't realize how good until I was going through a thing and started mentioning to people I think I need to move and go back to Florida, anywhere but here, because this what I'm going through is not acceptable uh, through, especially in a Bible Belt. But I was wrong. People say we don't care as long as you're a good person and you do right. We love you. And I was like, wow, I have not experienced that anywhere except here in Texas. And it's not limited here to East Texas. It's throughout. Although I will say, when you get into some of your metropolitan areas, uh, it, it it starts to get a little bit more like the rest of the country, which amazes me because Dallas has seemed to have gone very liberal. And I grew up in the 70s thinking Dallas was it. I mean, that was probably one of the best places to live. I still like Dallas. It's gotten huge, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm here in Overton. I got a commercial building which I reside in, and don't really. I don't open for business, although I do have stuff, projects that I'm trying to work on. I was one of the founders for the Overton Heritage Foundation, which it is a nonprofit group designed to help grow and revitalize downtown Overton. Like many small towns throughout the country, Overton has become desolate, and there are empty buildings that are falling down, and it's in bad shape. But we're making a rebound, not just through our organization, but through other people who have stepped up. There are several committees and groups that are rising to the challenge. So I'm happy to report that it looks like we're going down a good path. But as far as all this stuff goes, these are things I like to work on when I get a chance. I see a piece of furniture that I like, and I purchase it to restore, revitalize. It's mostly tables and chairs. The chair I'm sitting in right now, I don't know if you can see it. It's a chair from a seating company I've never really heard of until coming to East Texas. It's called Allstate Seating. Very high quality piece, kind of like a Henrodon. Not crazy about the color of the wood. It's kind of like a what would I call that? Not like a walnut, like a pecan. Anyways, but a nice quality chair. I do have some Henrodons. I have Haverty sofas, some Ashley products. I really like to go for the beefy stuff that has, and I look for the lines. The just visual interest. So that's what this is all about. I am starting. I do have a studio. It's called Roxi Studio, and that's where all the furniture, all the sales of the furniture goes through. And I'm just not doing it as much as I'd like. That's part of why I'm doing the podcast, to kind of help push me in that direction, get exposure to do that. But there's also another aspect of the studio, and that is a mini series that's going to be coming up on YouTube hopefully soon. We'll be shooting or at least we're scheduled to shoot a promo, like a little teaser trailer, if you will, to put onto Kickstarter to raise funds. I've done this in the past by myself through like using software, and it's just very amateurish with no results. And I actually gave up. I was doing it for about a year trying to raise money for this project, and nothing happened, and I just gave up. Finally, about a month or two ago, I got an email from somebody who invests in such productions and asked me if I was still doing this, and I replied, no, I'd given up on that dream. He says, well, I don't think you should. I think it has teeth, and I would like for you to put it on Kickstarter, and I will help you raise the funds to do that. So we're going to give it another go, try to do a little, take my game up a little bit and see where that goes. But that's what's going on with this building. So with that, just trying to find my way. I feel like I've at least found my footing. I have a full-time job, just delivering packages to people. It's not for the brown uniform people. It's another one. Um, but I don't even know if I can say it on here. That's why I'm being vague. I'm being vague about a lot of stuff, but yeah, like I said, we'll all get there. And it'll come out. So, um, and I should point out too that another reason it looks so dark in here is because there are no windows, none at all. And I know that's kind of weird, um, but it actually works. It works. Um, it really lends itself to a studio. It would make a great bar, um, which, you know, may happen one day. Who knows? I understand that in the late 1800s there was a saloon on this location, if I understood correctly. I'm hoping to learn more about that. But this building is really cool. It has a good vibe. Get a lot of comments on it. Going through some changes right now, but you're going to learn all about that much later, and you'll see images of it. There's a lot happening in the future. So yeah, there's no windows. Now I will say that in the back section there are some of the Art Deco blocks that Florida was mostly known for in their Art Deco architecture. The light coming in the morning back there is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful, and I hope to do something with that one day. But there is just too much to do. I'm just overwhelmed with stuff to do. So there's a challenge. Now, to the life aspect of all this, and why the whole discussion about the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. Now, last week, I think there was a bank called Silvergate that had collapsed. I believe that triggered the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, which now is being regulated by FDIC. I am told that through reports and the media I watch that this is going to be contained and it's not going to spread. I find that unlikely. I feel like this is a crack in the system that's going to get a little bit bigger. We've gone through things with the Federal Reserve over the last year with these rate hikes that we've never experienced in history. The tightening has been too much, and the fact that they aren't letting loose on this, I think, is starting to show. And you know, the practice of running an economy from the Federal Reserve is kind of like practicing medicine. Practicing medicine isn't the guarantee of health. You know, it's the practice of medicine. There's a reason they say it like that. Well, I feel it's the same about the Federal Reserve. It's not the guarantee of a fixed economy. It's our best guess as to theory that this will make things right. And so far, all we've seen for the past 20 years is kicking a can down the road with a debt that is it's crazy numbers, and I don't know how that's going to get repaid. So and it's all, when you think about it, it seems daunting, and that's where the fear comes into play. And I'm here to tell you, don't worry. Don't freak out. That being said, I mean, even the Federal Reserve, Powell has said that we're going to feel some pain. I mean, he's come out and said that. And on a news, well, not the news, the congressional hearing last week, when confronted by Senator Warren, she asked him, are you aware that your numbers will most likely put 1 million people in the unemployment line? And he's like, well, that needs to happen. It's better for 1 million people to be laid off than the entire country. So that's where their head is. They know it's going to hurt. Now with Silicon Valley, we're looking to see if perhaps they are going to meet payroll this next week. I think they're scrambling right now to see if they can do that for Monday. And this podcast will probably be out after that fact. So whether we follow up on that or not, I don't know. I don't know if we'll discuss it anymore. My point about the whole banking thing, though, is not so much to discuss the economy or whatever. It's to discuss the emotions of it, and to not get caught up in the fear of, going down a rabbit hole. We've been through recessions before. We had one in the 70s. I recall that. I personally didn't feel anything from it because I was a kid. I'm out riding my bike and playing with my friends, which we did back in the 70s. We were outside, so today's kids are probably just on their video games, have no clue what's going on. But for the adults, they're feeling it in the stores. You're feeling it when you try to purchase lunch meats. You're feeling it when you're trying to purchase just food in general. Everything's going up, and that's a result of inflation. And it's well, I don't want to say it's never going to come down, because we probably will be going through a deflation period here shortly. Once the screws get tightened a little bit more, and a few more of these events happen, we'll probably start hitting a deflation. But it's going to be painful, and it's probably going to get scary. Families will start to feel the stress of lack of income. And we're already seeing people, and I'm one of them, struggling to pay bills. So I can speak to this firsthand. But I do know that there is an upside, that you get through it. So what I would suggest is to not focus on what's happened nationally and what's going on with our Federal Reserve and our federal government. We need to be informed and aware of what's going on, but just do that. Be aware that it's going on. What needs to happen is we need to focus on our communities, continue to grow our communities. And I find that since I've done that, since I've turned off the mainstream media and the news and focused on my environment, much better things come to fruition. My mental health is much better. I'm not upset and yelling at the radio as much and asking why aren't people in jail. You just need to focus on what you can do in your community and get creative. There are good people here in East Texas, and I'm sure throughout the country. You have your little niche of people that you are friends with, your little network of community. I think we all need to work together and develop and nourish those friendships and communities, because I think at some point we're going to have to work together to get through this, because I don't think it's going to be pretty. And I'm not talking like next week or next month. I think things are going to unravel towards the end of the year. And I heard one analogy which I thought was most excellent. They spoke about the roller coaster where it's going up and up and up and up and up to the peak, and we're just seeing nothing but sky and thinking, wow, this is going to be great, this is so cool, and you get to the peak of it, and the people in the front go over the peak of it and start looking down into the abyss and going, oh crap, This is what's coming. Meanwhile, the people on the back of the ride are still looking at the sky going, wow, this is going to be so fun and so cool. You know, I think for those of us who are watching the economy, who have been watching and studying the economy for the last 10, 15, 20 years, we know what's coming, and we're not really surprised by what we're seeing. We're surprised that it's taken this long to start to reveal and show itself. Meanwhile, the people on the back of the roller coaster, yeah, they're not going to be aware of what's going on probably until the end of the year, going into next year. Some things that I am watching is the escalations with the Ukraine war. I'm not liking what's going on there and some of the decisions we're making with that. And I'm also watching the whole China rebuild thing with their train going from Asia down to Africa. They are becoming, they're going to, and you've heard it before, that they're going to take over the spot of the U.S. at some point. They're on their way to do that. They're looking at, and they've already started trading oil amongst themselves and using gold, and backing, I think they're setting up a banking system that backs their monetary system with gold. And we're seeing the rest of the world bypass the petrodollar and deal with Russia and other oil producing countries directly. And I think that's kind of playing into some of the things that we're seeing develop economically here in the United States. But life will go on. I mean, the sun's going to come up tomorrow and things will continue. That's the way of history. Life goes on. One of the things I think about is how in the world does Europe even exist today when you look at the images of what we in the UK did to Germany. I mean, we just leveled that place. I mean, when you look at those images, it's crazy, and to think that they would ever be a country again. It's like we just smashed it to nothing. But of course, those are the images we see. We weren't there. We don't understand what was actually going on and what daily life was like in Germany. But obviously, there were a lot of people that still survived Germany and were around to rebuild it and took interest in their community and pulled together to rebuild. And I don't think we're going to see anything like that, hopefully, in the United States. But we are going to feel some pain, just like Federal Reserve Chairman had said, Jerome Powell, that we will feel pain. And I don't think he's wrong about that. I don't agree with a lot of things he's saying, but that's something I do agree with. So my main point is, get involved in your community, build a village, bond with people, get to know your neighbors, that type of thing. That's what this is all about. And have no fear. Things will be tough, but embrace your loved ones, embrace your children, and cherish those moments. Make memories. That's what it's all about. The stuff that's happening, economically, it's peripheral, busy stuff. We'll get through it. But you do you, and find your passion. One of the quotes I heard, I think, is really appropriate to what I'm trying to say. And again, I think it's a Mark Twain quote, and that's, there are 2 days that are important: the day that you were born and the day you figured out why you were born, why you were here. And I thought that's pretty powerful. My journey has been one I never imagined, one I wouldn't choose, but here I am, and embracing it and loving it. And it's like it said, that you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. So I'm here to encourage you to adjust your sails. You know, that whatever life throws at you, whatever the current winds throw at you and throw you off course, adjust your sails and go with the flow and make the best of it. So that was my point of the whole bank thing. So I hope you enjoyed my pontification today. And again, if you'd like to receive a drawing from me, a picture, or just want to send me a comment, please do so. I'd be happy to hear from you and get some feedback on what you think about my first podcast. So thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to doing this again. Thank you so much. Bye.